All right, and we are live. Welcome back with Murphy Mac to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast. What's up, everybody? Hope y'all having a great day today. We've got a interesting topic for the podcast today, and it's pretty controversial. And I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all a little disclaimer up front. A lot of you are gonna disagree with me, and that's okay because this is my opinion. This is not facts or anything. This is just how I think, how I see things. And the idea of the podcast is to hopefully open up your eyes too on the way that I think. And if you at the end of the podcast, you still probably, if you don't disagree with me, hey, that's okay. Everybody is allowed to have their own opinion. But hopefully I can open up your eyes to change the way you think of things and change the way you do things. And that's kind of the whole purpose of today's podcast. And another disclaimer, I do not have kids yet. So a lot of you are gonna say, well, your opinion don't matter because you don't even have kids. Because I'm gonna be talking about kids in the podcast. So I think that even when I do have kids, I don't think my mindset is gonna change. I still think my mindset is gonna be the same. And I'm gonna go ahead and implementing these practices and these habits into my daily routine so that when I do have kids, these are already habits that are already there. That's already gonna be a thing. So today's podcast topic is you need to stop putting your kids first. Your kids, like the world today has shaped our minds or shaped society to think that your kids are your number one in absolutely everything that you do. You put them first above your own needs, above your family's needs, above your friends' needs. They're number one. And yet this makes sense. I get why this is the standard. I get why. Because like, they're your kids. You need to raise them. I get it. I understand why it's that way. But I don't agree with this. I don't think your kids should be number one. So you may be thinking, well, if your kids ain't number one, then who's number one? Well, this is an easy answer. Number one is you, yourself. You need to start putting yourself first before anybody else, before your kids, before your spouse, before your parents, before the rest of your family, before your friends, coworkers, whatever. You should be number one. Why should you be number one? Because if you can't even show up for yourself, how can you show up for anybody else, especially your kids? Because if you're not showing up for your kids, if you're not showing up for yourself, then there's no way you can give 100% to your kids. So therefore, if you're showing up for yourself first, then you'll be able to give 100% to your kids. But as long as you're putting your kids first, you won't be able to give them 100%. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but it's not. If you're putting your kids first in everything that you do, then you're not going to be able to give 100% to your kids. You're not. You may be able to provide them the essentials for life, like the things they need. You may be able to provide them shelter, food, water, education. You can provide them those things. And I agree. But if you're not showing up for yourself, you're not taking care of yourself, your health, your mental health, your physical health, spiritual health, things like that. If you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not giving everything that you can to your kids because you can give them more than just their basic needs to live in life. You need to be giving them everything, give them 100%. So that's what we're going to get into in the podcast today. I got 6 different segments to help break down this narrative and why I think this way. So hopping into segment number 1, we have the traditional narrative. So I can on this. Society often tells us that being a good parent means sacrificing everything for your children. And yes, I agree. You're going to have to make sacrifices, and you should make sacrifices for your children. But you should not sacrifice your own health, your own goals, your own mental health. You should not sacrifice that for your children. Take care of yourself first, and then you can sacrifice other things for your children, like hobbies or things that are not necessary. You can sacrifice other things. You can sacrifice buying a new car for whatever reason. Sacrifice those things. Don't sacrifice your mental health, your physical health, because it's all gonna have a it's all gonna have a what's the word? It's all gonna have a trickle down effect to your kids. So we're bombarded with messages that parenting should be all consuming and which just leaves little room for personal growth and self care. I think a lot of parents put their own goals, their own dreams on hold when they have kids, and they say, "Oh, well, I'll get to it one day." Well, that one day when you get to it, you're gonna be old and you're not even gonna care about that no more. Or you're gonna think it's too late to get into the game by that point. So you're just gonna give up on those dreams, on those goals, because you didn't put yourself first. And when it comes to these goals, yeah, some of these goals you probably should cancel them because some of these goals are not as important in life. But if your goal is like getting healthy physically or getting your mental state in a better state, obviously these are not things that you should put off for your kids. Segment number 2, the importance of self-care. Research shows that parents who prioritize self-care are more likely to be emotionally available for their children. And I agree with this. So if you're not able to show up emotionally for your kids, how do you think you can provide for them? How are you going to be able to show them a healthy mindset, a healthy mental state if you're not even healthy yourself? Your kids see everything that you do. They're watching everything that you do, every little movement. They're listening to everything you say. So if you're not showing up 100%, you're going to distill these practices, these habits, things like that. You're going to distill that into your kids. So you got to be self-aware. You got to take care of yourself first so that those things that you don't want your kids to watch, so that they're not seeing those things. So you got to take care of your physical and your mental well-being. This enables you to be a better role model for your kids, because if you're not showing up 100%, they're going to see that and they're going to take what you're teaching them, which is not 100%, and they're going to run with it. And that's how they're going to grow up. Segment number 3, fulfilling your personal goals. So pursuing your passions and your goals outside of parenting can lead to a more fulfilling life. So it's just going to make you happier. If you're working on yourself, you're going to be more happy. And yeah, you may have an argument that working on your kids will make you happy too. That's true. They will. Obviously, your kids are going to be a huge part of your life. But just because you have kids, you need to give up on your dreams too, on your goals, your career goals, family goals, whatever that may be. Because you can have a happy life raising your kids, but that don't mean you have to sacrifice everything else. You're gonna have to make some sacrifices, but you can have an even more fulfilling life if you're still working on those things that you've always wanted to achieve in life. Say, for example, you've always wanted to run a marathon, a big goal, a bucket list thing. You don't have to give up on that. Still do that. Still work towards that goal. It may take you longer to achieve that goal. Instead of doing it in 6 months to a year, it may take you 2 or 3 years to train for it because you don't have as much time. But still do that. You're still gonna get that reward. You're still gonna feel. Still gonna be happy for doing that. It's gonna give you a more fulfilling life. Demonstrating that resilience and that determination, it sets a powerful example for your kids. So if they see you working on these goals in your own time, in your free time, this is going to relay a good message to your kids that they can do that too. They can work towards their goals too. That it's going to show them hard work. It's going to take hard work. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take you sacrificing hobbies, events that you don't necessarily need to go to do these things. So that's going to relay a good message to your kids as well. Segment number 4, avoiding burnout. So constantly putting your children first, this can lead to burnout and exhaustion. And I can't really speak for this one myself, but I experience burnout with all the content and things like that I create. So you got to prioritize yourself, maintain a healthy balance, and avoid being overwhelmed. Again, this comes to self-care. Like if you're taking care of yourself, it's going to help you avoid that burnout, because as soon as you get off work, the rest of your day is your kids normally. But if you can take 30 minutes out of that day, or maybe an hour on the weekend or something, and do some kind of self-care, it's going to help you avoid that burnout. It's going to help you feel more rejuvenated, more rested. Because if you're just going all the time, you're going to get burnt out eventually, and you're going to get stressed out, overwhelmed, things like that. And fortunately, you can't just take days off. Not when you're a parent. There's no such thing as taking a day off. That's a full-time job. So this doing a little self-care act every now and then can help ease your mind and help you just avoid that burnout and getting overwhelmed and stressed. So you got to take some time to that you like, do something that you enjoy. Go for a walk by yourself or with your spouse or something, or do something like a hobby or something you enjoy. It's going to help you relieve some of that stress, some of that overwhelm that you get. Segment number 5, quality over quantity. It's not about the quantity of time that you spend with your kids. It's about the quality of time that you spend with your kids, the time that you're investing with your kids. With that being said, you don't have to be there 100% of the time with your kids. But when you are there, you need to be 100% there. You need to be in the moment. and to make that time quality rather than just quantity. So all the other times when you're working on your goals, you're not necessarily with your kid or you're working on your self-care. You may be away from your kid at that time, but when you get home, you'll be more energized, more happy, more able to spend that time with your kids. So you can actually show up 100% during that time that you do have, rather than just being there all the time and being there halfway, being there 50%, not 100% focused, not giving everything you can to your kids. So kinda like it's a trade off, quality over quantity. So being present and engaged when you're with your children, this is more impactful than simply just being physically present. Because you could be there with your kids all the time, but if you're playing on your phone, watching Netflix, half doing whatever y'all are doing, that time is not impactful to your kid. So if you're working on self-care, you may have less time to spend with your kids, but you can be more present when you're actually spending that time. So last segment number 6, building independence. Allowing your children to see you pursuing your own interests teaches them the importance of independence. They learn that it's okay to have their own goals, have their own aspirations. So again, your kids are watching you. They're going to see you working on these things. They're going to see you working on your own goals on top of all the other things you're doing, going to work, taking your kids to school, taking care of your kids, things like that. So they're going to see like that hard work ethic. They're going to see you doing these extra things, sacrificing things that are not necessarily important to work on your goals and to take care of your children at the same time. So you want to let them build that independence. Don't let them just rely on you for everything. You want to be there for them all that you can, but on those times that you can't be there, they'll be more capable of being there for themselves. Not necessarily taking care of themselves. Obviously, it depends on what age they are, but they'll be more independent and they won't be so reliant on their parents. So you got to let them build that independence. So just to conclude everything, shifting the focus from making your kids the center of your life or the center of your universe to prioritizing yourself. This can lead to a more balanced and fulfilling parenting experience. Remember, a happy and fulfilled parent is better equipped to provide the love and support that their children need. So I always like to say, if you can't show up for yourself, how do you expect to be able to show up for your kids or to show up for your spouse or show up for your family, whoever, friends, coworkers, anything like that? You got to find it here first, deep down inside. So work on yourself. It don't have to be necessarily working out. It could be anything, going for a walk. It could be reading. It could be meditating. It could be one of your favorite hobbies, like knitting, or I don't know. So it could be just do some kind of self care, work on yourself physically and mentally. And if you're religious, spiritually as well. So, yeah, I know this is not a popular opinion, and a lot of you won't agree with me, and a lot of you will, but hopefully this kind of opened up your mind a little bit to seeing it from a different perspective. And no, I'm not saying don't take care of your kids. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying let them do whatever they want to do and grow up on their own. No, you still need to be a parent. What I'm saying is if you can focus on a little bit of self care, getting yourself right first, then you'll be more present and be able to instill more into your kids than you can if you're just there all the time and halfway doing it. If you may be there less amount of time, but you're 100% present, that's better and more impactful in my opinion than being there all the time and being and physically being there or mentally being there just 50%. You know what I'm saying? Because then you're just halfway doing it. So there's some trade-offs there, but I think the quality over quantity is better in my opinion. So that's why I think that you need to start putting yourself first, stop putting your kids first, and ultimately it's a win-win situation for you and your kids. So I think if you're not respecting yourself and you're putting that time into your kids, you're actually doing your kids a disservice. You're hurting your kid, not hurting your kids, but like you're doing your kids a disservice by not putting yourself first. So putting yourself first, it's a 2-for-1. You get better, you get healthier mentally, physically, and your kids are raised better. They're taught better habits, better rituals. They see what you're doing. They get taught hard work, discipline, things like that. So it's a win-win for everybody. So with that being said, start putting yourself first. What y'all waiting on? Get in the gym, work on your physical health, read the Bible, meditate, work on your mental health, whatever that has to be. Do what you got to do. But that's all I got for y'all today. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Fitness Beginner Podcast. And follow me on all my socials, Murphy McCammon, or Murphy Mac Fit on pretty much everywhere. Give me a follow. I appreciate it. Until next time, y'all have a great day. Full protein. We out.